Check, 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 check. All right, looks like Mike is working. How is everybody doing tonight? I already went through and marked up my chart for the most part. I got to mark the hourly here, but as always, I start with the week. I mark the weekly high and low, the daily high and low, the 4 hour high and low, sometimes the 60 high and low. Usually the 62. And that gives me some context. Volatility has been off the charts. I don't know if anybody traded last night or the overnight session or New York. It was a wild. I actually had a pretty good night. I put up about, I think, 2,100 in 3 XFAs. I did blow a funded account that was not doing well. I had a chance to not blow it up, and I'm going to pull up one of my accounts here. This is my Globex. It was a very stressful situation. I started off down about 700 here at one point, got back to break even, and then down to about 1,000, and then finally caught a trade. So I was being a little impatient, and I'm going to try and remind myself tonight that trades will set up, right? I don't need to be the first one in. We say it all the time. Wait for the best opportunities. I'm not going to miss anything. Right now we got a 4 hour inside bar on NQ. That's my primary focus at this point. Or the 60 shooter if it wants to break to the downside. So here's this 60. It is 2 up green, but shooter candle. Right here, this is my big focus, is this inside hammer. We're going to open inside, so I'm not going to be in a rush to jump into anything with a 4 hour inside bar. But hopefully something sets up. We'll see how the volatility is. I've been trading very small size, but have not needed to trade more than 1, 2, 3 minis. I'm sorry, micros. Catching 80 or 100 points in 2 or 3 minutes. That's good enough for me. I took 2 trades this afternoon. Wasn't going to trade. I was up about 1,600 in accounts. Missed a lot of the volatility in the morning because I had made a decision not to give back any of those gains. Right, I'd spent all night fighting to get back to break even and then ultimately green. Did not want to give back. It was like 500, 500, 600, something like that in 3 XFAs, and I just did not want to give that back. So I wasn't willing to kind of jump into anything. Missed the news pump where Trump was allegedly mulling a 90-day pause. The market ripped face. Just complete move to the upside like I've not seen on future since I started trading. I haven't been trading that long, but it was pretty wild. And then another piece of news came out from the White House saying that that was fake news, that wasn't something he was considering, but it was crazy. So I feel like, I was watching some people put up really big numbers on social media in our funded chat channel, and it's hard not to be able to capitalize on that. But I did take some trades later in the day. I took like maybe 4 trades. One I stopped out, small loss. Then I caught a win. Then I tried again in a different trade, stopped out for a small loss, and then caught a win. The wins were about 80 to 100 points, so it made up for my 30-point stop out, which for me is a pretty wide stop, but it's absolutely necessary. Like I was using 30 to 50-point stops today just because of how crazy things were. So that for me, that just means size down, trade smaller, and be patient. Just got to wait for the right opportunities. The one setup that I really was able to capitalize on last night was this. Eventually, we got this rev strat right on the 4 hour inside bar, two down hammer. It did kind of mess around in here for a bit. I actually I got in expecting this candle. Oops. This candle right here to go outside bar, and it came close-ish, and just didn't get it done. But that set up the one, two down green hammer, rev strat, enter here, and then we just kind of took off. So I did not get all of this. I got maybe up to this green line, which is the daily weekly open at 17,100. So market's open. Let me get back to see what it's doing here. We do have a 30-minute inside bar. Keep an eye on that. Probably good to mark. Little rev strat on the 15 triggering up. Can trigger the 30. Kind of want to take a long, but might just maybe I'll take a small. Let me mark the 30 here. Thanks, options, DGen. Yeah, I was super happy about that recovery. Mainly because it was way past my personal daily loss limit. I gave myself a ton of wiggle room with the volatility and, spent a lot of time just trying to claw back, being down a few hundred and then trying to, just slow grind with small size. And then when I finally got back to break even, I was like, all right, it's time to, kind of check out for a bit. I had been sitting trading for, I don't know, at that point, like 8, 10 hours straight. And I didn't do that, and then I was immediately annoyed at myself. Inside 30 triggered up. This is I need to switch to the 100 tick here for a little more clarity. Like this, buying this little pullback would have been smart. We'll see what this does here. Again, I really have to remind myself that just because the setup triggers doesn't mean I have to take it. It is inside 60, inside 4 hour. So for me, that's on my specific list of rules to do not trade. But we are, if the 30 hits target, it will cause the 60 to go two up and potentially trigger the 4 hour. So these are pretty, you know, still going to see a bit of volatility. So I'm gonna just gonna be patient, see how things set up. I've started to notice that some of my best trades happen after the first hour. So in the future, I've mentioned this before. I might start at like, after the first hour, what profile traders call the initial balance. It gives us another, yeah, it just gives the market time to do what the market's going to do. But my brain doesn't want to miss, a single move. So it's like, oh no, we got to sit here for the open because God forbid it just rips. But I mean, it did the other day, and that's where I made, really great money quick. I think $700 or $800 per XFA in like the first 15 minutes of trading. And then I was just kind of done. But I'm trying to get better at recognizing that things are going to set up. Well, there were plenty of opportunities overnight. Today, New York pre-market during New York, I saw there was a rally sort of into the close during power hour, and so things are going to show up. Not really going to miss anything, but tell that to my brain. All right, let me see what you guys are up to. Check chat. Uh, oh my goodness. Oh, that's old chat stuff. Let's see. Nothing. Awesome. Oh, see, 30 triggered and just didn't go anywhere. I got a immediate pullback. So had I just FOMOed into this, that was a 43-point move down against that entry, which is pretty stingy. So I'm going to just kind of, again, wait, let the market open, try not to FOMO into anything, and also not regret not jumping into something if it moves because it's just going to happen. That's part of trading. Triggering again the 30 here. I feel like this is probably a good entry if I'm going to take this, but it's really difficult for me to have set rules and then stick to them all the time because trading is really dynamic. There are, different conditions and circumstances where things may go two up or two down, or we end up with some kind of domino trade. But historically, for me, trading inside 60 and 4 hours just, kind of like the death zone. I always wish that I had just waited for like the 4 hour setup, is usually what I'm looking for. Waited for the 4 hour to trigger and then taken the trade. Sometimes that means I miss stuff. So, and again, I just I don't like to miss anything, but that's the faster I get on board with accepting that I'm going to miss many great trades, the more peaceful I think my life will be. See if it holds this 30 here. Maybe a little pullback and retrigger. Worth taking a little shot at it. Trying to measure what this risk is. Oh, not even on the right. Hold up here. Hold up. Hold up. Take a little stabby stab at this. I'm just trading small size. I normally will trade 3 micro starters, but with this kind of volatility, I'm just not doing it. I can't sit through, I just don't want that much drawdown against me. I'd rather just trade one, two, add to a winner, and try and get my, the bigger right now, like 50, 60, 70, 80 points, 100 points. Make my $200 per XFA, 600 bucks, no stress, and do it that way. Then sit through drawdown. Very much a headline driven market right now. So, I mean, there could be a tweet, anything could come out and just, we could see things reverse 100, 200 points. I mean, today we, ripped up what, 800, 900 was like 1,000 point reversal in a very short period of time. So I'd rather take a small $36 loss than, just play the wait and see game. This retriggers, I'll probably jump back in, give it another go, but I think I really need to wait for this first hour to close. I think that's the smarter move. Do have a little 1 minute higher low here at the 30-minute trigger at VWAP.
Order filled.
Gonna try again. If this doesn't work, then that'll be that on this trade. Usually my stubbornness works out for me. My not letting, not giving up, right? I mean, at some point, there's a 32 lot just came in. Not giving up, stopping out for small loss and then being happy to jump back in and then catching, 60 points makes up for the 20-point stop out. But if they can't get it done here, I'm going to question buyer's commitment. I really have to mess with the price scale here to, what looks like a 10, 20-point move during New York was like 60, 80. Kind of crazy. It throws me off a bit. Takes me a minute to get used to. Would be nice if there was a setup on the 60-minute to add, but if this trade works, we're looking at the 4 hour is not, that far away. That's where I would add again. Oh, who was it? Pizza. I don't know if you're listening, Pizza. We were talking about like where to add. So I will sometimes add on, like let's say there's a little bit of a pullback here on a 1 minute or a tick chart, for example. So we trigger here. What do I need? B. Trigger. If we pull back and hold this, that would be an add for me. Like I would add to that position there. And usually what I do is just trail my stop a little bit tighter. So I add risk, but then I reduce it by tightening my stop. And then if we get a setup that triggers, like let's say I'm in on a 15-minute or 30-minute, and then we get a 60 that triggers, I'm adding there. If we get a 4 hour that triggers, I'm adding there. Back to break even on the day with this nice little 20-point push up. We'll see if they keep it going. Not trying to be a hero. I'm not out here, trying to be a simfluencer. Whatever. Just sharing my trades, my experience. Kind of distracting myself a little bit here, so I'm not so inclined to click on buttons unnecessarily. Also helps to talk out these trades as I'm taking them. If you guys aren't doing that, I recommend it. Record yourself, listen to it back, practice. Like you're explaining, pretend you're explaining to someone else the trade that you're taking, and if it makes sense, then that's great. Or if you're like, wait, why would I do that? Would I want to share this trade with somebody else? And if not, why not? Are you just jumping in with no entry, no clear plan? You don't have a good stop just because your emotions are trading for you? Or if you can say, hey, look, this is why I took this trade. 30-minute enforce could trigger the 4 hour. There you go. Right? That's my reason for being in this trade. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I have a reason to be in it. I have risk that's managed. Start to kind of trail this up a little bit. Me too. Options, DGen. He said, I hope it's not a slow, low volume night. I mean, things are kind of moving though. For us to get, it's so far. It's not like we're setting the world on fire here, but I mean, 20 points during Globex is, especially in 4 or 5 minutes, is not terrible. Something to work with. But yeah, I do worry about this big 4 hour candle that we have here, right? Mother bar-ish problems. So things could be kind of tricky until we get out of this range, which is a huge range. But we'll see. Here's a 15-minute flip. Want it to go two up. Pretty much going to set this trade break even. So can't lose. And just patiently wait for, maybe a little pullback to add some kind of opportunity to add would be nice. But without knowing how things are going to, unfold tonight, I'm not interested in jumping in with like my normal starter size. If I was in a combine or an evaluation account, would be a different story. I trade those a bit like a madman. But I only need one more day in one of these XFAs to be eligible for a payout. I do need some more money in it. Would like to put in another like 1,200 or so. But yeah, see what happens here. Oh, it's crap. Yeah, you are. That's what happens to me every time, and then I end up getting destroyed because I'm, we get these big moves, and then it gets stuck. It's not quite moving like it was, and I get butchered in the chop, expecting, another 60 point 1 minute candle kind of thing. The great thing about trading and the reason like why, I mean, you'll hear a lot of traders say slow down, scale down. You don't have to be crazy aggressive. You can make decent money with micros is because if you're taking good solid trades consistently, it's easy for me to scale this up to two or three or a mini or two minis, right? And then significantly increase, two minis on this on 20 points is what, $800? But the trick is to find some consistency first. Making sure you get a good read on the market when you're trading well, then you can kind of scale up. Like the next trade, I'll have a little bit of a buffer here. I'll be willing to go a little more aggressively. Like this is zero stress for me. Yeah, it's $50 and I'm down 37, but it's times three XFAs, so 150. If I get 100 points out of it, 50 points. It's a decent start. I like to dip my, trying to just kind of get my feet wet when the market opens because we really know what's going to happen. And especially, like I said, with the volatility that we've had and tariff news, there's a lot going on. Trump just posted, I shared in our funded chat that he was going to add another 50% tariffs on China. China sold 50 billion in US treasuries. Like there's potential for some crazy shit to go down. So I don't want to be caught in the wrong side of it. I'd rather make less money than, get smacked in the face. Really, the goal is to protect your profits, protect any money that you're making. Not, making money is secondary, but keeping what you have should be the primary focus. At least that's what it is for me. I sometimes forget that, but in general, I think it's a good way of approaching markets.
Order filled.
Gonna add one there. If it
Order
doesn't work,
filled.
doesn't work. Didn't
Order
work. Oh
filled.
shit. That's not what I wanted.
Order filled.
Accidentally hit my hotkey. I instantly close those trades. I don't sit and wait to like figure out is that gonna work or not. Like if I accidentally hit a button and get in a position, no. See if it holds over this 30-minute trigger. We only have 9.5 minutes though for this 30 flip. You're so annoying. Stop a little too tight. Had the right idea. Wrong execution on that one. A perfect touch of VWAP there. I believe sometimes the charting on Top Step is weird. You gotta like move this around a bit, but so held VWAP at 30-minute trigger, so 30 minutes stays in force, and nice little kind of V-shaped recovery here. So that one stings a bit, but what are you gonna do? Sometimes things don't always, go to plan. I have a plan I wanted to add there on that little pullback. Just a little too tight on my. I think that was only a 5 point stop. Sometimes you have to accept the risk on the trade, right? You want to add to it, you got to be willing to give it some room to breathe. What's up, pizza? How are you? That was a good example of me adding on. We had a 30-minute trigger, right? This line right here, that white line is the 30-minute trigger. We triggered, pulled back, triggered, pulled back. I did get in, I think right here. I set my stop down here. And then when we pulled back at the 30-minute trigger, that's where I added. I just had my stop a little too tight and got tagged out. Should have given a little more room, but you know, good ad opportunity. And then if the 4 hour inside bar triggers, that's another opportunity to add. Or even just something very similar to what we saw here. So I'm going to push up. Whoops. Right. Push up, high or low of some sort, little ad. As long, my average price was somewhere down here. So if I add up here, I still have an average in this range. So if I stop out, I can have a break even stop and not take a hit. That's usually how I like to play it, where my ad keeps my position in profit, or my stop is slightly in profit or break even. And then each additional ad impacts my average entry price less and less. Right? When I have 1 micro and I add, it's going to be the difference between the two. Be 50% of my initial entry and the ad. But when I add the third one or the fourth or the fifth or the sixth, it's not going to kind of drag my average price up quite as um, intensely. Still got inside hour, 30 minutes in force, but kind of fumbled that trade, so just going to wait for the next one. See if I can find another opportunity here to get in. Would have been nice 45 points here already. 32. Okay. Oh, 85. Yeah, 85 and 20. Still not too bad for two micros. What's that? 120 bucks times three accounts, 360. It's a nice little start. This is why I've started putting VWAP on my chart. Like, this is a just good. I'm looking for confluence between strat setups, right? So 30-minute in force, we pull back and test the VWAP, which is volume weighted average price. We tag this, and so not only do we have the 30 staying in force, but we have this hold of VWAP, which is basically why I added there. Just a little too aggressive with my stop placement. You're playing Connect Four with a 3-year-old. Awesome. Is that a cousin, niece, friend, relative of some sort? AK, were you in the one this morning talking about the 15 trigger and the 30 and so on? That Alex was live streaming this morning. That wasn't me. Oh, options DJ answered that. Thank you. Pizza says, gotcha. So you just look for any other play towards the direction you go. Yes. So if I have a higher time for, I have a setup, right? We have a 30-minute setup with magnitude. We've got daily, weekly continuity on our side. I'm looking for ads until we get to magnitude. And then even when we get to magnitude, that may trigger a higher time frame setup, like the 4 hour, for example, which we have an inside 4 hour hammer right here. Right, so if I get an entry on the 30 and then we potentially trigger this and end up, that seems like a big ask all the way up here, but you never know. I'm just looking to little pullbacks, little higher lows, lower highs, little maybe strat setups on the 5 minute that reconfirm what we know to be true on the higher time frames and just jumping in. Saying like, hey, what do I know right now? I know that the day and week are green. We've had a ton of selling. We've got 30-minute mag. We've got a 4 hour trigger overhead. So yeah, I'm gonna look for little opportunities to hop in. You think you get extra defensive of the one that I have? Oh, so I'm more looking to not lose what is. Yeah, I get that. I do understand that. Like a lot of people are uncomfortable like moving their average up. So let's say you're up 50 bucks on a position and then you add to it. Um, and it pulls back a little bit, maybe you're only up 25 or zero. The way I look at it is, um, can I stop out? Am I more likely to stop out if I trail my stop aggressively? Yes. But when they work, I have twice the position size, or 3 times, or 4 times what I started with. So I'm willing to give up, a small winner for a much bigger winner, and that helps me. Oh, you just found a kid outside. That's funny. Daughter. All right, cool. Nice. No wonder you're a busy guy. AK, I'm really trying to learn more about these strat triggers. I understand the 1, 2, and 3 and how they trigger the next star candle, but I haven't gotten the full grasp. How long have you been stratting? And do you have the strat combo sheet printed out on your desk somewhere? Here's a 30-minute flip. Would be very comfortable if I was in this trade. Um, Expecting this to hit 758 target. Didn't get it done in a single candle, but that's okay. Right, this candle couldn't quite take out the high, but if we get a two up here, we're almost certain to tag this high over here. So we do what we call candle blending, where we just kind of smash these two candles together. So 30 goes two up. We will see if it hits that target. Yeah, it would have been that was a nice easy low stress trade that I'm a little disappointed I kind of mismanaged there, but it's part of the game. Yeah, 50 points. I just try and think like in the future next time how could I have done that trade differently, right? I just had a stop that was too tight, so in the future, hey, maybe, don't 5 points was not I think it was a 5 point stop is really not enough when things are kind of moving around a bit. And this isn't like the volatility that we had last night or today, but it's still, 50 points in the first 30 minutes is not terrible. And it was actually really like the last 15 minutes from the back test of the 30-minute trigger to where we're at now. So I would take that all day. I've been trying not to beat the shit out of myself when if I make mistakes or I could have done something differently. I was watching Deanna on Top Step TV. She has a guy he's a neuroscientist, and he made a good point that when I make a mistake, I immediately go to what an idiot, what a stupid move, why would you do that? You fucked that up, etc., etc. And the truth is, you wouldn't, if somebody posted in Funded Chat and was like, "Man, I got stopped out of this trade," you would be like, "Oh, that sucks. What did How could you? What did you do wrong?" You'll just learn from it. You'll do better next time, and that's usually not how we talk to ourselves. So trying to get in a habit of just saying like, all right, you took you did your thing. It didn't work. Like, what did we learn from it? How can we make that better next time? It was only one trade. Trading is make a series of good decisions over a long period of time. One trade is not going to ruin me. Using the strat for what? Hold up. Um, Pizza. Do I add it all on lower time frames? Like say the 30 goes in force, I enter, but it's not magnitude, and it gives a slight pullback, and say the 5 or maybe 15 triggers something new. Is it more risky? No, I mean that's exactly what I do. You get like the 30s in force, you get corrective activity. It sets up a 5 minute setup or a 15-minute setup that is moving in the direction of magnitude. Yeah, I'm in. I'm gonna add there. Um, AK says I have the sheet. I've been using Strat for 6 months. I would say like things really started to click with the Strat for me like after the first year, probably a little bit sooner. But I was also working on a bot to scan the markets, so I got a lot of help from Sarah and Alex, kind of explaining what they look for, and that certainly helped. And I was looking at charts every single day, 7 days a week. It does take some time. I would say just ask questions, post charts if you're not clear on something. Be the squeaky wheel. There's plenty of people who are happy to help point you in the right direction. And be patient. You're not going to figure it all out in a few months. I mean, you'll get the basics down, like you said, one, twos, and threes. You might be able to recognize broadening formations and you looking at time frame continuity, but maybe you're not sure. Like, well, what if the month is red, but the week is green and the day is red? Those kind of little nuances will take a little bit of time for you to figure out what works best for you. But you got to be patient. You're not gonna sit down and just learn this stuff real quick and make a bunch of money. Because the sad truth is, once you figure out the strat, then you're gonna realize that 80% of trading has nothing to do with strategy, and you're gonna be like, oh shit, there's this whole other aspect of trading, like managing emotions and greed and fear, and where do you take profit, or how long do you let trades run? All of these things that don't really have anything to do with strategy. Did there been any talk from the Wonder Twins about the next boot camp? I do not know. I am not sure. Don't know what the plan is on that. No, Mac, do I think it's likely price will move back up to the top of the 1 hour 10 a.m. candle? That spike this morning was caused by the mention of the 90-day tariff plot. Yeah, I would say it's a big ask to get up there. If the 4 hour inside bar breaks, I would not be targeting that high. I would look for maybe somewhere like halfway between the trigger and magnitude, because like you said, that was a huge volatility candle, and the markets were just kind of moving the way we normally do right now. So yeah, don't a lot of times new strat traders look at these setups and they're like, oh, this is great. If this 4 hour, I'll pull up the chart here. Like, if this 4 hour triggers, this is going to be great for 537 points. But, context matters. And so that's why I said this is like mother bar problems here. It's going to take some work to get out of this candle. So we could chop around a bit inside of this 4 hour candle before we either break the highs or the lows. So it is a big range to trade, but you just have to, keep your expectations reasonable. We go 4 hour two up, that's pretty much the next target. Yeah, I mean it is, but like for me personally, I just wouldn't expect it to go straight there. At least not in like a single 4 hour candle. Maybe it takes another candle for it to get there. But you're right. That's where we would be looking to. But if it triggered like it triggered in the next 10 minutes, I would bet against it going hitting that target in 3 hours. Yeah, no, Mac. I mean, usually when there's a ton of volatility like that, the market consolidates sideways for a period of time. It's usually not my favorite area to trade when we've got a big mother bar like that we're kind of trading inside of. Would I take the 4 hour if it breaks up? I definitely would, but I would be, I like I said, I would keep my expectations kind of reasonable. AKA, that's what I'm still trying to figure out. Like the year went red on PL, which is what I normally trade. Should I wait to see if it comes back into the yearly range and try and find an entry into reversal back into the year? And how do I find that? I mean, for me, the most important time frames on futures are the 4 hour, the 12 hour, the day. The week is also helpful, right? If you have the day and the week, you're kind of sitting pretty. I don't really care about the month, the quarter, or the year. If those are also going in the direction that I'm trading, then I just look at those time frames as a bonus. But as intraday traders, I mostly care about the day and the week, and then I usually want the 4 hour going in the direction of those. I often say I don't like to trade against the day. If the day is green, I tend to look bullish. If the day is red, I tend to look bearish. I keep it really simple like that. I don't know if that's right. I think it's, if you're a swing trader and you're trading over a 3 month period, you're probably going to care about the week, the month, and the quarter more than the 4 hour and the 60. So it depends on how long you plan on holding trades. If you're buying leaps, options, usually dated a year or more out, you probably want to look at the yearly, the quarterly, the monthly, more so than the 60, the 4 hour and the day. Really just depends on the time frame that you're trading. Somebody who's scalping might only pay attention to the 60, the 15, 30, 60. There's another little back test of VWAP here, kind of holding up. But 30 is 15 and 30 are failed two ups. So they're two up, but they're red. So just need to be cautious there. Pizza says why I'm never really a fan of trading through wicks. Typically set my target in the body when I'm looking for one. Yeah, it depends on I mean how far away magnitude is and the circumstances. I usually try and set my targets a little before magnitude, a couple points to get out of most, and then I'll leave partial position. But too many times I've seen it gets, within a point or two of magnitude, doesn't quite hit, and then reverses. And I don't want to, I'm not going to fight over a point or two or three. You know what I mean? Like if I'm up $200 um, and magnitude would be like 220, I'm okay taking the 200 and just saying that's close enough. What's up, Swift? How are you? Kind of chopping around here. We got 16 minutes, just over 16 minutes until we get a new hourly candle. So inside hour, inside 4 hour, but new 60 flip coming. We'll see if that presents any opportunities. Just kind of chopping around right now. I want my next trade to be one that will get me back into the green or break even. So I'm going to be a little more picky. The For me, it makes sense to start being more picky as I've taken more trades. If I have a number of trades that aren't working, then I don't want to just keep taking. If I'm not trading well or if setups just aren't working, I don't want to keep taking paper cuts. Right? $58, no big deal, easy to recover from, right? I take another one, maybe I'm down another 50, I take another one down another 50. Start to get into that like depressing zone where now you're just worried about getting back to break even instead of focusing on taking good setups and trades. At least that's how my brain works. I definitely trade differently when I'm in drawdown than when I'm in the green. And that's probably a good thing. I mean, I don't want to be swinging for the fences every single time, especially like I said, if I'm not trading well or the market's not cooperating. For me, that just means dial it back a little bit, slow down, size down, wait for better entries on higher time frames. They will come. I kind of have that rule too, Pizza. Said if I fail 3 times in a row, I just assume I'm not reading something correctly. Yeah, or the market's just not moving the way that we want, right? Sometimes it's just we're not getting any follow through. Tends to be choppy. I'm fine taking one, two, sometimes three swings at it. After that, I used to in the past, I would just be a knucklehead and continue trying. And then at some point, I was like, well, this seems silly, right? Why just dig the hole deeper? Let's just wait for a much better setup that is easy. One that screams to me like, oh, this is a great. If this triggers, this is gonna work out great. This is gonna be easy 40, 50 points, and stop messing with the nonsense. Because it could be me, I could be tired, I could just be off. It could be the market. Maybe I'm hungry, distracted. We have things going on in our personal lives that can interfere with being focused on trading. If you're stressed, the worst thing you can do is just continue trying to force trades, dig a big hole, and then like start panicking and or trying to revenge trade your way out of it. Best to just take a step back and say, all right, I'm going to take a break, or you want to give yourself a chance to recover. You don't want to just continue digging the hole deeper until it feels like it's impossible to get out of. For me, once I'm down a couple $100, then it becomes a game of just, you know, trying to chip away at the red like I did last night, and it sucks. It's just not fun. And then when I got back to break even, I dug the hole again, which is just it's. Sometimes I do things that I question my own IQ, but it happens. Tilt. You know what the funny thing is? Last night I mentioned to somebody that I didn't feel like I was tilted last night, which was good. Like I was red, I wasn't happy about it, but I wasn't trading aggressively to try and recover that money. I was just trying to, you know, uh, I mean, I was trying to chip away at the red, but I wasn't doing it in an irresponsible way, like where I started sizing up. Like I actually sized down, and so it took me longer to recover because yeah, I was only trading one or two micros, whereas if I had been trading three or five, I would have potentially recovered quicker, but I could have also dug the hole that much deeper. So I was pretty happy with the way that I handled it, at least, Because man, tilt for me is killer. I in the past have historically gone on like a revenge trading spree where I start sizing up to recover those losses because you know I God forbid I have to take a break from trading and leave the account red, right? Or call it a night and wake up in the morning for New York and I'm already down $400. Like that's not fun. But sometimes that's just the way it is. That's what happens. So that's it's better for me to walk away, like if I don't take another trade now, down $60, that's easy peasy. I get down like three, four, $500. Now I got to put in a whole bunch of work to try and recover. The market might not make it easy to recover, right? We could you could be down and all of a sudden the market is just chopping sideways and then you've got this I have this monster inside of me that is like, "No, we need to get back to green. We need to get back to break even." But the market is not cooperating. There's just no opportunity to make that happen. And for me, it's really hard to rip myself away when I get in that mindset where it's like, "No, we have to, I have to get this back to at least break even on the day." Yeah, I mean that's the difference. Options degen said size up and keep resetting over and over like a doofus. Yeah, I mean I've done that on combines. I really have. I've gotten much better at valuing these XFAs like they matter because they do. And once I get those credit card statements, and I'm like, Jesus, you are out of control, bro. Like reset, 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 reset. Okay, I do that angry trading thing where it's just like, it's like F you, five minis, get the 1500 or blow up, and then if a blow up, it's just reset and boom, try it again, and it's just not a good mindset. Come on, 15 two up, please. 15-minute inside bar. We got a little kind of doji, not really. We get a flip or something here. Where'd my clock go? No. Oh, it's hidden. 7 minutes, 30 seconds for the new 60 flip. So we've had inside hour, and if you're a range trader, you basically, buy down here, sell up in this area, and just trade this kind of range here. Anytime I see an inside bar, that's what I start looking for. Some kind of range trade. Something I'm playing around with. I don't always act on those, but I keep an eye on, are the dips getting bought at a certain kind of in a certain zone, and are the highs getting sold in that same kind of area? Eventually, it's we will break out. We're gonna break to one side or the other, but until that happens, any of these buys down here at the low have worked. So there's that saying, do it until it stops working. But not a lot of anything happening right now. 30-minute is two up. I still think we take out that 30-minute target at 758, but maybe not. Pizza says you're too cheap to reset over and over, so I just take the reset as a lesson that I need to do better. Yeah. It adds up, man. I didn't realize how many times I was resetting in the past. This year has been much better than when I first started. I think I started in July, maybe June, July, August of last year, and it was just, reset, reset, reset. And then I got a credit card statement, and I'm like, Jesus, bro, like you got to take this more seriously. Especially with XFAs when you got to pay an activation fee. So let's say it takes you two attempts, right? You're in for $100 on a 50K account. Then you pass, you're in for another 150 for the activation. You're 250 in, and then are you gonna gamble that funded account and blow it up right away? I did that for a while, and it becomes like a little nutty. So now I really try and um, think of XFAs as my money as to the best of my ability and not be in a rush to get paid, right? If I take good setups, if I have if I manage risk and take good setups, money will show up. That's the end result of following a plan. It can't be I need to make $1,500 today. Let's just click some buttons. Trying to push up here, but struggling a bit. 3 minutes 40 seconds. You in a long options, DGen? Man, I really wish I was in this trade from earlier. I'd just kind of be chilling here, hoping this 4 hour triggers up. Would have a trade in profit with a break even stop or a stop in profit. In a couple, he says. This guy, oink oink. 695.25 with 1 mini on XFA. 715.5 with 10 micros in 3 accounts. All right. I see you. I know what you're up to over there. 'Let's see. 30 is trying. Let's see. 30 minute is two up, but 30 minutes been dilly dallying a bit. But we could end up with when this closes, a Momo hammer. So, sometimes these setups, they take an extra candle or two or three. I call them like 4 bar plays where we've got the strat set up, right? Candle one, candle two, candle three. Most of our setups are three candles. But this didn't get it done. A lot of times it happens on candle number four. And if it takes, candle number five, so be it. It's just a kind of a slow grind. But if you were in from down here, you got nothing to worry about. Where this 60 broke or the inside bar broke. And we can see over here this entry that I missed right here has never been, all of this price action here has not come close to taking this out. Close to hitting magnitude on the 30. And there's 65 points off of this in the first hour. Not too bad. 20 seconds till the flip. The 60 is trying to go two up. Here's another example of a potential four bar play, right? Two down green. Whoops. Charts updated. Two down green right here. We break to the upside on this candle. This candle doesn't get to magnitude up here. See if it happens here. One, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's the flip. We'll see if the 60 triggers up. We get to this magnitude on the 30. Having missed this earlier trade, I'm probably going to wait for to see what happens on the 4 hour. I'm going to set an alert. Actually going to do that right now. I mean, it's really just overhead. So I'm going to get rid of the 30. Here's the 60 low. Here's the 60 high. So trying to break this. There's not much magnitude on this setup, but these magnitude and trigger are so close together. Sometimes price will just push through both of these and get some follow through like that. Boom. Options degen is all excited right now. He's giddy. Just need 20 more points on the XFA to pass it. Combine finally passed. Nice. Uh-oh. F what? Oh, just missed taking. You missed your take profit. That's kind of annoying. That's 70 points, 85 points from the entry that entry opportunity that I blew. So 30-minute hit magnitude just took, three candles for it to get the job done. I'll see if it triggers the 4 hour inside bar up. Would like it to stay over that 60 trigger if I was in longs or if I was a bull. Kind of want to see that stay up there because if not, there is the potential for this to be a failed two up, flip red, and then go outside bar, which I'm not really expecting at this point. But if buyers can't keep pushing this up, it's something that we have to be aware of. The red to green move or green to red with this inside bar. So I would want it to stay above this 60-minute trigger, or at least stay green on the 60. I think anyone in longs is in good shape. So pizza, that would be another example, right? Entered on the 30, we got a 60, a setup on the 60, little inside bar that broke, a little ad right there. We push up into this 4 hour, another little ad, or maybe we push up, pull back, or a back test. Any little setup that I can find that makes sense, that's moving in the direction of time frame continuity and magnitude. That's where I'm looking for, to scale in a bit. Yeah, it's a good plan, pizza. Go back to starting one micro, and then if you take a stop out or two, it's not as painful, especially when you do need to use a wider stop right now. Two, you double your risk. Let the trade start to work, and then add to it. And if you get stopped out again, when I add to my positions, I just tighten my stop a little bit. Not I don't reduce risk exactly by the amount that I increased it with the ad, but I do try and if I had a 30 point stop and I'm in a position and then I get an ad, maybe I'll tighten it up to like 20 or 15 if possible, leaving enough room for the trade to work. That's the mistake that I made earlier. I added, but I had my stop. I tightened my stop up just a little too much. 5 points just normally during overnight, like 5 to 10 points is fine, but we do have a little more volatility than usual. Although not it's not crazy tonight, but a lot of times I can get away with that. Just didn't get away with it this time. Nate, I don't know if you're still here. Checking, I have YouTube on a different screen. Talk about stress. Just lost my fam because I put too much focus on trading. At least now, after 3 years of it, I finally got it all figured out, and we'll be able to spoil them from a distance. Sorry to hear that, man. I It's not hard for me to think about myself being in that same type of situation. I've done it with other things in the past where I've been hyper focused on my own obsessions, and the people that love me, care about me, the important people in my life kind of get pushed to the side. So hopefully you will, come back stronger, be able to fix those relationships if that's something you're interested in. But I wish you luck. Iron Jaw, what's up? Good to have you. It is, man. And it's such a lonely kind of where there aren't that many people who understand what we do, at least in my personal life. So it's hard to share like the wins or talk about the losses with them when they're just like, uh-huh, uh-huh. You know. Meanwhile, for me, I'm just hyper focused on trying to get better at this, trying to make money, find some freedom, and it does become a balancing act to not become too obsessed or too focused on what we're doing. I was in a long-term relationship that ended because I was completely focused on myself. I mean, I did the best I could under the circumstances is when I was using heroin. Nice push up here. But that was my number one priority in life, and unfortunately, everything else came second. They were secondary, and so I mean, today I have a good relationship with her and her son, but it did take time for me to become like a normal, decent member of society, and somebody who's not so kind of like selfish, I guess. Not to turn this into a therapy session, but it's good stuff to talk about. I hit your target options, DJN. You out of that trade? Oh, stop loss hit. Got 800 times three. No, that's a great trade, bro. Have a good one, man. I'm probably gonna hop off here in a sec. Gonna get some food, and I got my 4 hour alert set, and we'll see if something sets up here. This might have been a good place to add on this, kind of pullback retrigger on the 60. I'm just not like a huge fan of it. I might regret it, like if the 4 hour triggers would have been a good early entry, but again, it's fine, right? Can't get hung up on one missed trade. I didn't bury myself. Easy to recover. Just wait for the next best setup and then attack. Pizza says that's why it's nice to have a community because we're all failing, learning, and winning together. 100%. All right, buddy. Pizza's still here. He bounced off. Great stream. Gotta go. Start the night routine. Be back later. Yeah, man. My pleasure. Anytime. Thanks, guys. I'm gonna hop off here. Like I said, I got my 4 hour alert set at where is it? About 17:08. So a little heads up if the 4 hour looks like it's gonna break, and maybe I'll make an attempt there. I always hate when I miss the early entry, and then I feel like I'm kind of getting in late. But the truth is, we still got 2 hours and 47 minutes for the 4 hour to go in force, stay in force, and get some magnitude. So I could squeeze something out of that trade. Maybe get back to break even or a little green, or it could be a solid win if things keep going. But I'm gonna hop off. I appreciate everybody. Have a good night. Trade safe, manage risk, be smart. Don't be an oinker. All right, guys. I'll see you later.